Did you know Batman already killed? If you like the content of this video and want more, subscribe. I appreciate that. In this video, you will find 10 times Batman killed the villains in the squares. One of the greatest heroes of comics, Batman is a very complex figure who has been active for almost a century. The Dark Knight has gone through several ups and downs, but many fans know that the character has a clear rule not to kill his enemies at comic books. But it wasn't always like this. The character has previously killed in the comics both supervillains and normal bandits. And this still happens to this day in alternate realities and independent stories of the DC universe. So here we list 10 times Batman has killed in comics. To begin our death list, we have nothing less than the barrel of acid. Batman's do not kill rule came about well after its creation. In his early years of activity, the Dark Knight saw no problem exterminating his victims, and a good example of this happens in his first appearance in the squares in Detective Comics 27, 1939. In the magazine, the hero needs to investigate a series of murders involving business owners. Confronting one of the assassins, the Gotham City Crusader throws him into a barrel of acid, giving an end to the fight for the bandit. Batman's own words, not mine. On the second death by Batman, we have a broken neck. A few editions later, in Detective Comics 30, Batman returned to kill in one of his first adventures against the supervillain Dr. Death. The enemy had a habit of threatening rich people in exchange for money, and in the story in question, he summons a new footman. The henchman, named Mikhail, who also played by the name of Cossack, ends up having a fight with the Dark Knight, but is distracted by the vigilante, who makes him look out the window. When he is unsuspecting, Mikhail gets a kick in the neck, which kills him on the spot. On our Batman death list, thirdly, we have nothing less than the Hanged Giant. As you can see, the hero's first stories were the stage for brutal killings and cold-blooded murders by the Dark Knight. Another that stands out is the story present in Batman 1, where we see the hero facing various experiments created by the crazy Hugo Strange. In the magazine, Batman faces several of these giant men, including letting some of them kill each other. However, one of the giants has a very emblematic death, when the hooded crusader hangs him with his retractable hook and hangs him in his aerial vehicle, bringing a macabre more over Gotham City. Are you enjoying the video so far? Comment to find out your opinion. I hope you're enjoying it and you're not going out now, because now we've got the death prison in 4th place. One of Batman's most interesting arcs in the comics is the 10 Nights of the Beast, when the Dark Knight meets and faces the Soviet assassin known as KG Beast. The story shows how the villain is very intelligent and lethal, ready to decimatize the hero in combat. However, the bout ends in a dark and sinister way when Batman eludes his opponent and locks him in a special room in the sewer, leaving him to starve and behave. In later stories, it is revealed that the villain had fled, but at the time of the magazine's release, death was seen as one of the most brutal ever performed by Gotham's hero. You think it was a hero's attitude? Considered one of DC Comics' most violent and adult bows to date, Batman, the Messiah brings several very shocking moments to the Dark Knight from start to finish, creating what I like to call the cult, which is in our 5th position. In the saga, he is kidnapped and suffers a mental wash by an underground cult of homeless people. While under the command of the sect, he commits several atrocities and murders dozens of people, causing a real slaughter in the sewers of Gotham City. When he finally breaks free, he also lets the sect leader, Deacon Backfire, be murdered while observing inert. In 6th place, we have the Bat against the New God. One of DC Comics' most controversial sagas, the Final Crisis came to end Darkseid's journey in the DC universe before the New 52 reboot. At the event, we see how the leader of Apocalypse weaponizes his boldest plan, being able to finally conquer the anti-life equation. In the 6th edition of the saga, Batman discovers that the villain possesses a unique weakness, Radiance bullets, a lethal element to the New Gods. Aware that it is the only way to save the universe, it injures Darkseid with a bullet, but not before being killed by the villain's Omega rays. In fact, he was just transported in time. One of the Dark Knight's most peculiar villains is the Deathman Lord. He is a criminal with unknown secret identity, who is famous for having circumvented death for mastering very bizarre yoga techniques. Yes, that's his story. In Batman Corporation, the Dark Knight realizes he cannot kill his enemy, so decides to give him a fate worse than death. To do so, he traps him in a jet and sends him into space, where he would suffocate for the rest of eternity. It's not really a murder, but it can be worse. In 8th place, we have the final cut. When we first met the Ignition Point universe, we find a new Batman that is quite different from what we know. In this reality, Thomas Wayne assumes the Dark Knight rode after his son is killed in the Alley of Crime, which subverts the entire origin of the hero. Thomas of this reality is violent and sees no problem in killing his enemies. A good example of this happens when he kills the Reverse Flash, one of the most recurring villains in the saga, using an Amazon sword to stab him in the back. A simple, visceral death. A bizarre sex scene. In 9th place. Frank Miller has authored several consecrated Batman stories over the years, revitalizing the character with his Dark Knight. However, no one forgives the author for the oddities written in the odied arc Great Stars, Batman and Robin. A scene that is controversial to this day involves the moment Batman uses a Molotov cocktail to set fire to several bandits, who agonize to death while their bodies catch fire. As this happens, the Black Canary approaches, and the heroine participates in a bizarre sex scene with Bruce Wayne, motivated by the flaming slaughter. Macabre, don't you think? To finish the top 10 deaths by Batman, we have the Joker's latest joke. Finally, we also have a story that relies heavily on his interpretation. After all, there's no clear indication that Batman actually killed the Joker after The Deadly Joke, the classic graphic novel written by Alan Moore. However, at the end of the issue, after the Clown Prince of Crime commits unforgivable and heinous crimes, we see him having a conversation with Batman, where he tells his latest joke. The villain and the hero begin to laugh, and the last thing we see appears to be Batman strangling his archenemy. Did you like the video? They've been here for EVERYODA family. You have more interesting videos on the channel. I'm waiting for your support. Thanks for watching and so far.